Hey kiddos, so we're going to talk about how we test minerals and just some ways to test them to figure out what an unidentified mineral is. So there are 7 ways. One of them is called a crystal system. This one's a little harder to test because you more just have to observe it and really understand angles and faces. So we're not going to worry about this one as much, but just so you know, that's one of the ways we can test them. Another way we can test minerals to figure out an unidentified mineral is its density. So each mineral has a characteristic of density. And so again, if we just put it in water, if it sinks, we know it's more dense than water. If it floats, it's less dense than water. And while this is a great indication and it tells us some things, it doesn't tell us everything. So that's why scientists have come up with a formula where if we can take its mass and then take its volume and we divide mass by volume, we can find its density. And that just again tells us a lot about its properties. Now the ones we can really test and what you are going to be required to write in your procedures, which is the third assignment on this absent student day. So the first thing is color. It's used to identify a few minerals that have their own characteristic coloring. This should not be used as a major identifying characteristic. So for instance, this is the mineral sulfur, and we have some in class we can show you. And because it is like bright yellow like SpongeBob, we're able to identify the sulfur mineral easily. But when it comes to like quartz, a lot of them are white. So that makes it really, really hard to identify just based on color. Another thing we're going to have you guys test is called streak test. So this is the color of a mineral's powder. You have to do this by carefully rubbing the mineral on a streak plate. Some minerals will not streak because they're harder than the plate, but for the most part, you're going to get to see a streak. So this is fool's gold here specifically, and it leaves a black streak mark. So that color tells us that, hey, this is actually fool's gold and not real gold. Real gold would have left a gold mark or a yellow mark, not this black mark. So just that powder, that line, will tell us a lot about it. So you are going to have to provide a streak test in your procedures. Then there's luster. So really, we just want to see how light is reflected from the mineral surface. And we use the words metallic and non-metallic. This is very shiny. It looks like a metal. So we would say that this mineral has a metallic luster, or non-metallic. It's not shiny. This is more your glass looking type of minerals as well as the non-metallic. So for example, pyrite, the fool's gold, that's going to be metallic. Galene, we have these two in class we can look at, but galene's very, very shiny and it is metallic. But this gypsum and the quartz, those are more glassy and pearly. They are non-metallic. They do not have luster. And then finally, or one of the other ones is cleavage. This is if a mineral breaks easily along flat surfaces. So this is quartz. Quartz has cleavage, and this is what it would look like. This has not been cut. This is just the way the mineral breaks if it's dropped or hit by something. It's going to have those nice, clean lines, whereas fracture is going to have fragments. It's like when you break bread, it has all the crumbs everywhere. That's what it's going to look like if it has fracture. And then finally, our last one we're going to look at is the hardness scale. This one's a little harder to figure out because you really have to have a good eye for it, but we are still able to do it, and I still would like you to have it in your procedures. It's a mineral's ability to scratch another mineral, another type of thing. So we use the Mohs hardness scale. It's ranked from 1 to 10. Talc is like chalk. It's very, very soft. It is the least hardest mineral. And then we go all the way to 10, and you can see a fingernail. If it can scratch a fingernail, it'll be at like a 2.5. If a copper coin, so a penny scratches it, that's where it would be. A knife, glass. But diamond is the hardest mineral that we know of, and it comes in as a 10 on the Mohs hardness scale. Right? And so those are all of the characteristics or all the tests that you are going to have to perform in writing your procedure.